This is the Voiceover Gurus Podcast. Real talk about the voiceover industry with your hosts, Linda Bruno and JJ Wilson.
Welcome back to the Voiceover Gurus Podcast. Yay, it says it's recording, JJ. I'm good.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
So this time you can see me?
I could see you before. I just couldn't record you.
You could. Yeah, no, I'm joking. You know that I was showing pictures in the last podcast. That
I know.
We were, yeah.
I know. No, it is
Picture
what it is.
the monster, and yeah.
Look, technical things can happen to any of us.
That is correct.
Right.
That is good. As long as they don't happen during a session, like a power outage.
Have you ever, and this has happened to me.
Yes, I have. Thanks for asking.
In a session, like it's only happened maybe a handful of times where I forget to hit record.
Oh, golly. I did that yesterday.
No,
I
but I'm
recorded
saying
a
it's
60.
a live coach session.
Oh, no, that I haven't done. I must admit I haven't done
I mean, it hasn't
Well-
gone that far, but
Maybe I have.
then
Maybe I have.
I delicately start recording.
Yes. Now and then I always say, you just want the last takes, right? Good, because the first ones ain't here.
So welcome back. This is the Voiceover Gurus Podcast. On the last podcast, we were discussing the topic about what to do during a session, a live session. That's
A live session,
also
the rules, the do's, the
on
don'ts,
camera. Yeah.
the be nice, the look nice, the sound good,
Right.
the agreeing and making it a game where you please the client as quickly as possible.
Right. And then we started thinking about some of the crappy things that have happened during sessions. And thought we would discuss that. So real quick, one of my clients told me that they had a talent come into the studio and she brought spirit sticks with her.
I'm sorry, did you say spirit sticks?
Spirit sticks.
Well, I know what I'm making you for Christmas now.
And it was these two sticks. I guess it's kind of like taking sage. She needed to clear the studio of any negative energy.
Well, sometimes that happens to me, but I just open the door.
She wanted to clear the studio of any negative energy before she started voicing. Needless to say, I don't think she was hired back.
Did you ever, in the old days, when we used to go to the studios in the middle of a session and fart, and it smelled horrible, and then the writer decided to come in to make changes? That happened to me once. And he walked in and he went, "Whoa, we'll leave the script like it was." Anyway, oh, damn, you could knock a...
Oh, it's classic. It's classic. So, yeah.
So that's really good advice. Don't fart in the studio if you're out at somebody else's.
Oh, that's a good JJ tip.
Yeah, that is a good tip. Yeah. If you give me a few minutes, I can actually... Well, never mind.
Now, what about, I know that I've had...
Spirit sticks?
Spirit sticks, yes. I've had, in the past, if I have any kind of nasal issue and I'm in a live session and then all of a sudden something catches the back of my throat and I start coughing profusely. Boy, does that annoy a client? And you can't do anything about it.
No.
Because you're like choking and they're getting...
And then your voice doesn't sound the same for the next 10 minutes either.
No, there's nothing stuck in my throat. No, it's fine. It's fine.
But that is the human body passing gas and getting something stuck in your throat.
I don't pass gas.
So did you have
just
you
let it
ever had any
build.
really bad sessions?
Yep.
You said that really quickly.
Yep.
So what was it about it that made it bad?
Well, this was kind of recent. It was about 6 months ago, and I booked a job through an agent that knows me very well and has worked with me for years. And the clients, there was too many of them on the phone, and it was a very long session, and there was a real language barrier. I was really having trouble understanding. And I, as I say, I listen very carefully to everything they want, and I read it the first time all the way through, and he
Right.
said that was 3 minutes. I need it in 2.5. And I said, okay, and I read it in 2 minutes and 29.5 seconds.
Ooh.
And I said, better? And he said, yeah. And then we did this, and he said, let's do the last line a few times, more feeling. And then we were done. And he wrote my agent a letter that you wouldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
He was unprofessional. I couldn't get him to where he needed to be. Even my secretary was able to read this in 2 minutes.
That's crazy.
And I said, he never said anything about 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2.5.
You know, I was crushed.
Yeah, I remember.
Because I never go, and my agent said they wanted somebody else. When I got to the client, they decided they didn't want you. And by doing this, they can pay you half rate, and that's it. And
That's just so tacky,
yeah,
though.
But I said, can I give him a call? He said, don't do that.
Yeah, no, don't
Please
call
let
JJ.
me call him. Please let me call him. I'll be really nice.
No, that's a big no-no.
But man, that hurt.
Yeah, I'm
It
sure.
really hurt. He lied through his teeth
I'm sure.
just to save $150.
That's painful.
So that was one of them. Yeah.
Here's a don't. Don't try to rewrite the copy.
Yeah, there is that.
Don't make suggestions. You may think that you're like brilliant, you know, but you're not. You're a trained monkey. They've paid you for a voiceover. Unless you have a history of being a copywriter, they know this of you. You've worked at an ad agency. You have the background. But as a regular voice talent that doesn't have any real background knowledge in that, don't. Just don't.
Just don't.
Yeah.
No, because that upsets them.
Yeah.
And then they get angry and they
Because
no, don't do
imagine
that.
you spent all this time writing something and you poured your heart into it because it's your job. And it's been reviewed by all these people, all the hierarchy, in addition to legal. If it's, if it's medical, oh Lord, it goes through so many reviews.
Yes.
And now you're going to step in and go, I think it might sound better if you switch this.
Let's change hemorrhoids to anal itch. No, let's not. But the thing is, they've worked on it for all this time, and probably, in my years of experience, the writer writes the spot, and it's really good. And then it starts getting passed around for approval. And by the time he gets it back, it's like the telephone game.
It's been changed.
It doesn't look anything like it used to. It's not funny anymore.
Right.
And I hear that from writers so often. They say, just do the best you can with it. It used to be funny.
Right.
And I feel bad for them because they've really got to go through the ringer just like we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With it. And you do the best you can. But you're so right. Please don't say, gee, this copy sucks. We'll be seeing you again. Never.
Well, there are times I've had some students come in and they're very cerebral, so they're picking apart a script that we're just practicing. And, well, I wouldn't normally say this, or this word shouldn't be here grammatically. It's not correct. And I'm like, you need to turn your brain off, and you need to make it work with what you're given. You cannot change any of those other elements.
Right.
And some people can't get around that. They're like, well, no, it sounds odd if I say it like that. And it's like, well, the beauty of being a voice actor and getting paid is that you make it sound great.
Yep.
No matter what you're reading.
Exactly. I was just going to say something about that.
A don't, a tip, a don't.
If before you actually start the session and you've read the copy over, if there's a word you don't know how to pronounce or understand or have never seen before in your lifetime, or the client's name has an EI in it instead of an IE.
Yeah.
Always ask, is it we or why?
Yeah.
Always get these things cleared up before you start, because the first take may be the keeper. Mm-hmm. But not if you get the client's name wrong, which is going to make them angry. And first of all, that you didn't ask.
Right.
Of course, they should have told you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding a lot of agents are doing that lately. They send you copy with all these medical terms in it. Would it be so hard to just phonetically spell them out?
No, you have
I
to do it
spent half
yourself.
an hour on Google going, how do you say anal leakage?
Right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, come on.
I think it's more
bit.
become the talent's job now from the
it has.
from the
It
audition
has.
process, because I don't get
Yes.
pronunciations for a lot of things.
Oh no, I don't either.
Right.
No. So it's you some of these auditions can take more than a half an hour. Mm-hmm. And you do 5 of them a day. That's 2.5 hours of your day just looking up words.
So like JJ's saying, do your homework but also have your list of questions before you start the session.
Exactly.
So that way, also, they'll realize that you're interested because you want to try to give the best possible product.
Right. And that you're very familiar with the copy, and that's already going to put them at ease.
Right,
As soon as
exactly.
they say hello and you start asking questions about what they've written, they're going to go, okay, this guy's done his homework. This lady has done her homework, and this is going to be okay. And that means a lot in the beginning of a session, because if it starts off negatively, it's going to keep going that way.
Right. It's true.
It really is. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So yeah, it's a good way to start. Just get a good vibe as soon as you possibly can.
Right.
I usually try and make them laugh if I feel it's appropriate.
You feel it out.
If they're, hi, I don't do that then. I just say, yes, sir, ma'am. Yeah, no, ma'am.
Sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sure.
Another thing to think about, too, because you're going to have nerves. If you don't have nerves before your first session or even your 100th session, you have to have some butterflies, a little bit of anxiety there, wondering, okay, I want to do a good job and I want to make sure that my voice doesn't crack and that I sound professional and that I handle this well. But those nerves, you have to try to get yourself in a nice, calm place. For me, I just read the script out loud and it calms me down.
Yes.
Because it's like I take away the whatever mystery I've, created in my head of what I should be sounding like. And then I just start reading it. And then the client starts hearing it before we even start. And they go, oh, okay, great. Yeah, you're already on the right track.
Yep.
And then I get a little
Absolutely.
confidence from that, like, okay, good.
Okay, we're on the right track. I'm going to make it. I'm not going to die during this session.
Right.
Which I have thought on several occasions. For people with anxiety disorder, it can be a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't sleep. I sweat. And, sometimes I'd said, Janine, come in and sit down with me, just so I know you're here. And, it's just like, why?
Yeah.
It's all up here. But
I'm telling you, you
what that
won't
says,
listen to the song. Leanne Womack, I hope you dance. You told me you won't listen to my song.
Which song? What song?
Okay, that song, I Hope You Dance from Leanne Womack. I told you the story, I think I did on a podcast, where I had this session in the city. It was a big one. I think it was for like AT&T. And I'm waiting outside of there, and they open up the studio door, and I can see a bunch of producers are in there. And I am so nervous because I'm probably within my first 3 to 4 years of being in New York. So I had my little iPod and my headphones, and I just kept playing that song over and over again because it's very motivating about how, if you get a chance, I hope you dance, as opposed to chickening out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
See, I always listen to Bad Company because of all the people in the room.
Bad Company. So what are the things?
There was another session.
Yes.
I remember, gosh, this must have been 25 years ago. It was a TV spot, and I had to read, I forget what the circumstances were, but there were wires everywhere. They put a monitor on the stool next to me over here when the microphone and the script were over here. So I'm looking back and forth. My neck's starting to hurt. They're over-directing to death. It wasn't shot well, so I couldn't see their mouths move. I was trying to sync with them.
Okay.
And I don't know, I must have had a bad day or something. I don't know. I got fed up.
You can.
We were there for like 2 hours to do a 30-second spot. And it wasn't going anywhere. And I finally looked at them and I said, I'm sorry, but when you get your shit together, give me a call.
Oh, wow.
And that is the only time I've ever left a session. I couldn't do it anymore. I was going out of my mind.
When was
But it
this?
so 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I never did that again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Never did that again. I was only ever late for one session. I got called. Do you remember Jay Stevens?
The name sounds familiar. But...
Yeah, Jay Stevens Productions. Wonderful man. Absolutely wonderful man. Curmudgeon-y, a great talent, both on mic and off recording. But I was always, he reminded me of my grade school principal. And when I walked in the room, I straightened up a little bit because I was actually afraid of this man. I really respected him and I wanted him to like me, and he helped my career greatly. But he called one day and I picked up the phone and I said, "You coming in to do this session?" And I looked at my watch and it was like 8 minutes to go. And I was 30 minutes away. And I went, yep, stuck in traffic. Oh, Miami Beach, it was okay. So he believed me. But what a terrible feeling that is.
That's awful.
To be just, oh my God, clients are sitting there and I walk in late. And
For sessions, I make sure I'm never late for that. I will show up a half hour early.
Absolutely.
I'll go sit out and, drink a coffee or something just so I know I'm in the area. Audition's different story. I do kind of cut that a little close. But I also know, too, that if I get stuck, like this was back when we were going into the city, the train is late or whatever, I can call my agent and say, hey, can you let the casting director know? And then they're cool with it. They shuffle it around. But for a session...
Right, because they understand. Yeah, no. No, take the earlier train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, but for casting directors, too, in a live situation, if you are late for a casting director, you can consider yourself done.
Oh, yeah.
They are so regimented because they have to get their things done that if you are disrespectful of their time, they will just never ask for you again. And it's a simple, just having some manners can take you a long way.
and sometimes on the part of the casting director, because there was a casting I went to in Miami, again, 100 years ago, I think. Charlotte was 3 and Johnny was 5, my 2 kids, and I had full custody, so they went everywhere with me. But we were sitting in the casting director's office, and another lady had brought her kid. And it wasn't for a kid's audition, it was for the grown-ups.
Right, but you had to bring your
kids. My kids were, they were well-trained at shutting up when Daddy's in the casting room or doing a voiceover, because that's how they grew up. But this lady's kid was just screaming and yelling and making noise. And the casting director came out and looked at me and said, keep your children quiet. Oof. And I stood up and I said, my children aren't making the noise. Be sure you know who is before you yell at me.
Ooh.
And then so she looked at the other one and she said, oh, I'm sorry. And I said, I'm respectful. I've been coming here for years.
Right.
Never given you a problem. And so, sometimes it's hard to hold your tongue.
I had one most recently, probably within the last 2 years. It was a casting session in the city, and it was in this building that has a ton of places to either rehearse for singers, coaches rent spaces there, and so casting directors do as well. So they're all on this one floor, the casting directors are. But there's no signs. There's so many doors, and there's no signs. And so I'm looking, and I'm turning, and I'm looking. I don't even see people. Usually there's some women waiting. So I know, okay, let me go over here. There's no sign-in sheet. So I kind of...
That was for the AA meeting you were waiting on.
So I pop my head in to this one studio and I go, is this the audition for Target? And the casting director looked at me and he goes, yes, close the door. And he was the only one he was by himself. Okay?
Oh,
and
he's very busy.
I was like, you were such an... And I sat out there and I was like, my God. So then I go in to do the audition. So the guy's already pissy pants to begin with, and I'm annoyed. And I stupidly say something after I finish my audition. I say a self-critique. So let's say I said, coming, $5.99 only at Target. Maybe I should try to, if you hadn't spoken, I would have had a perfect take. But you spoke. And I'm like, oh my God. So even though, you can go in and splice and all that stuff. All right, just did it again. And I got my butt out of there. And I was like, I really don't ever. Why do you have to be so nasty? Yeah. You're having a bad day, but my God, at least in that world, talent can get treated a little bit like cattle.
Dog meat.
Yeah. But and it's not like it was a cattle call. This is a reputable agent sent me. It wasn't,
right.
But bad,
a little respect, maybe?
Just a little.
Just a little.
Yeah.
There's no, some are, and some really aren't. They just, it's not like having a real job where, your boss will say, oh, Linda, I need to see you in my office in 5 minutes. And you sit down, they go, I've loved working with you. You've never missed a day. You've done great things. But we're cutting back right now. We're going to change people. And I just want to wish you well. Here's a letter of recommendation. And thank you, and get your stuff. And, I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
In voiceovers, you eat dinner and watch television and see somebody else doing your $100,000 account. And that's how you get fired from those.
Yes.
They don't ever call and go, oh, thanks so much. It has been great. You're just done.
Right. It's over.
And That's why we talk about you've got to have thick skin. Because, you immediately go into panic mode. You just lost a lot of money. And you go, okay, you start adding up your bills.
Right.
And you go, oh, golly. But what I've found in this business is that when one goes, another one comes. And it's just been that way for over 30 years. That it will come. And there are moments when it gets very close.
Yeah. I almost quit the business twice.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, this was though before I was doing VO full time. I was just auditioning, and I wasn't booking much, and I was married, so I had a supplemental form of income. So
Right.
I didn't have to worry so much about making money. But the frustration came because, I wasn't getting any feedback from any casting directors. They'd just say, "Thanks for coming in."
Yeah.
Similar now, the pay to plays, you don't know. Unless you get hired or you get shortlisted, you're like, okay, obviously it wasn't what you wanted. But you don't get any performance feedback with your audition.
Right.
So you don't know what you're doing right or wrong. And it got to the point where I was like, and I said to my ex-husband, I go, I'm going to quit. I remember like vividly, we were driving to Jones Beach, which is a big a beach out here that they have concerts and shows. We were going to see a show. And I looked over at him and I said, I'm going to quit. I'm done. And he said to me, he goes, don't. You just need that one producer to hear you. That'll link to another producer, blah, 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 blah. So the next day, I'm so like disheartened and down on myself. And I go into the city for an audition. And I walk in and the casting director's like, you're number 50. You're our last person. 50. So I'm like,
Okay.
sure. Yeah, get in. And I guess I didn't care. I did not care. I did the
That's
audition.
what I was just going to say.
Yeah, I didn't care. I went home and then I booked the account.
There you go.
So, it's like sometimes you have to get to that point of complete release. And you go,
The point I was going to bring up is I used to book a lot of on-camera jobs. When I was the king of voiceovers in Florida.
right.
And you know why? Because I didn't care if I got it or not.
Yeah.
I was making enough money to survive. It was all good. And I knew I was good at that, which in turn would make me, a pretty good candidate for on-camera workers too, because I had a unique look. I had white hair. Mm-hmm. And I used to book a lot. And it was because I just walked in there. I didn't get nervous.
Yeah, you didn't care.
I went in and I had fun.
But how do you
and
get
that's
to
what I
that
think
point? It's hard.
It is hard. And even, if you don't have the money and the other
Right.
income coming in, that's still how you have to approach it.
Oh, and it's so difficult.
You have to, I know.
It's so
but you got
difficult.
to throw it all away and
Yeah.
just, and that also shows him, he's going to be really easy to work with because he's just so, he takes direction well. He's not nervous and he's just great. So fine.
That account lasted me like a year and a half. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So it was a
Yeah.
regional account. One embarrassing, since we're talking about situations. So I go into the city. This is when I was voicing for TLC. I was the network voice. And I had just become the network voice. Okay. So I'm going in for my first session and I'm sitting in the waiting room and there's this girl across from me. And the producer comes out and he hands me a script and he hands her a script and I just see a bunch of lines and she's reading and then he goes, oh, wait. And he switches the scripts. So he gives me her script. And apparently she used to be the voice of TLC.
Whoops.
And that's how she was finding out. And I was sitting across from her like just ready to die. And she went in for the audition because she was there for an audition actually. And I felt terrible. But this is what, it happens.
That's the way it goes.
It's painful. But to keep up
It is.
that, to have that I don't care attitude. And that's totally what got me that AT&T spot. I didn't care.
Yep. Which means you're just letting it happen. Letting the audition go. You're letting go of yourself, your inhibitions. It's just natural.
But I think that...
And that's a good way to do it, is just walk in like you don't care. But
think-
of course, don't let them know that.
Right. But I think the casting director was just trying to be funny, like, oh, guess what? You're number 50, as opposed to going, oh, you're number 50. I mean...
Hey, I would say, hey, that's great. I would go, so the other 49 suck, so here I am.
You found your voice.
And then I try and wow them, and that's
Yeah.
Sometimes I intentionally delay auditions.
Do you?
Because if they like you and you're number 3, and they put you on the short list, by the time they get to 50, that list is in the garbage can, and there's 4 lists since then.
But unless they make the decision before, maybe they hear it and then they go, you know what, I don't want to continue.
That sometimes happens too. Yes. Yeah, the agent will send you a note, say this has been cast, don't bother.
But,
Thanks.
But because some people get tired of that pay-to-play situation and doing casting there, and they don't want to deal
Yes.
with it.
Right.
You know, so they're like,
Exactly.
who do you know? Who do you know?
Yeah.
Which is what's happened here, which is why I'm recommending some students. But, you know, it can be very frustrating. That whole
Young
casting process,
students.
though, you need to just, you got to have faith in yourself. Thankfully, I had a good support system at the time. I think if I was by myself, I might have quit. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, because you get really, you know, down about a lot of it. And that's normal.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah. And sometimes you get so, you know, it can be quiet for a couple of days. And then the following day you wake up and you got nothing going on again. And, you know, you have your Egg McMuffin and you call Linda and say hi. And then all of a sudden the emails start.
Right.
And it just doesn't stop till 8 o'clock that night. You come out of the studio and go, oh my God, I'm tired. Mm-hmm. So I guess the 2 days off. And that's how I learned to start enjoying the time off.
No, it's good. Mm-hmm.
Because
You're appreciating it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And not worrying quite so much as I still worry about it after this many years. I still, when it gets quiet, I worry and I call you.
Oh, I know. I worry.
Linda, you getting any calls? You want me to check your beeper?
Your beeper. Well, funny stories. We could go on and on and on. Heaven knows I've got a lot of those. But yeah.
I got to smoke in the studio once.
You did?
I did. That was I've been working there for 10 years. No cigarettes in this studio, ever, anywhere. And I walk in the door and I walk into the studio and Radar O'Reilly is sitting there. I can't think of his real name.
I don't know who that is.
He's Radar and MASH.
Oh, okay.
And he, according to what I heard, he lives in the Keys. And he invented this fishing thing that made him more money than MASH did. But anyway, he is a chain smoker.
Really?
And I walked in and there was an ashtray and he was smoking a cigarette. And I looked at the guy, the producer, and the guy said, never. And I went, does this mean I can smoke today? And he said, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So Radar and I were talking back and forth, smoking cigarettes one after the other, and did a bank spot together. So you never know. You never know. And then there was a guy who owned a studio who was different. That's a good word, different.
Different.
I walked in one day and he's shooting a gun down the hallway into a target in his studio. I walked in, bam, bam, and I started, oh, God.
What kind of gun?
A real one.
Are you serious?
Like 40 Magnum, something like that.
Oh,
you know.
good Lord.
Yeah, and then one day we were shooting arrows. Yeah.
Unusual. Unusual
very.
sessions.
But fun, though.
Hey, all you guys get to deal with is being on camera in a Zoom session with
That's
somebody.
right. It's a whole different world for you now, you guys. It really is.
Thanks so
It
much
really
for
is.
joining us, though.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
This time we had video. I didn't screw up.
Oh, God, we did?
Yeah.
Did I pick my nose during any of this? I didn't
No,
pick my
you were
nose.
good. You were good.
Because usually I do when we're off camera. You know, the hard part in a studio is in which crook of the foam do you put the booger?
Oh, gosh.
Because you run out of little crooks, and you got
So
the
if you
little
have any
wedges and stuff.
topics you'd like us to discuss or comments, please email us, info@voiceover.guru. I'm cutting JJ off because I do not want to hear about what's going into your studio foam. Okay.
Oh, hang on a minute.
And we will see you guys at a workout, hopefully. Join us for
I hope
one
so.
of our
I
Wednesday
hope
night
so.
workouts. We have a great
Wear
time.
your gym suit and
Yes.
bring some water.
Yes, exactly.
And be prepared for some reps.
And be prepared to let go and just have some fun.
Let go.
Let go.
That's the hugest thing we talk about during every one of those is letting go.
Yeah, that's our big advice.
Yep. Me, I don't let go. I'm very, very uptight and tense, as you can tell.
Right, so don't take JJ's advice.
Right,
like,
right. Just
what he
be
does.
very serious
Just-
like me all the time.
Right.
Right.
Everyone,
Dive. Oh, I thought that was a
have a
submarine.
good rest of your day, night, weekend,
Hey,
whatever
thank
suits you.
You know, I wanted to work weekends.
What?
Well, I was a candle maker. Anyway, all right then.
Thank you for joining us, the Voiceover
Thank you for
Gurus,
joining us.
voiceover.guru.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Hopefully, if she hits record.